The US Supreme Court has dismissed the latest Republican-led attempt to overturn the national healthcare law known as Obamacare. The decision means that affordable health insurance for tens of millions of Americans will remain intact. It was passed by the Obama administration in 2010 to address large gaps in healthcare coverage for Americans.
This was the moment former U.S. President Barack Obama announced the passage of the Affordable Care Act.
Today, after all the votes have been tallied, health insurance reform becomes law in the United States of America.
And since that time, American Republicans have vowed to repeal the act, often referred to as Obamacare. This is the third major attack on the health care law taken to the Supreme Court, and it ended the way the first two did, with a majority of justices rejecting the case made for scrapping it.
There was some hope among the opponents of Obamacare that this time would be different, mainly because the court is more conservative now that there are 3 appointees of President Donald Trump on it.
And I mean millions continue to suffer from Obamacare.
With Trump's support, 18 Republican-led states sued over the law. Conservatives have always said it is too expensive and have argued that government should stay out of health insurance choices. This time, they argue that charging a mandatory penalty for those without private or public insurance made the entire law unconstitutional. The court disagreed, as Congress removed financial penalties for the uninsured in 2017. But the ruling doesn't mean that the healthcare law is safe from future lawsuits.
It just said that the people who brought this lawsuit didn't have any right to do it. And so in a sense, the court sidestepped the issue of the constitutionality of the now toothless individual mandate.
Democrats are praising the decision.
Good morning, good morning. Once again, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of the Affordable Care Act and the transformational protections that it provides every American.
With the ruling, protections for people with pre-existing conditions will continue, and lower-income people will keep their access to medical care. The U.S. has the highest health care cost in the world. According to the Biden administration, 31 million people have health insurance because of the law.
DW correspondent Oliver Salat is in Washington and he can tell us more about this. Hi there, Oliver. Why did the court dismiss this challenge? What reasons did it give?
Well, Jared, the plaintiffs here in this case, and those were the Republican-led states, including Texas, they took this law to court, all the instances up until the Supreme Court, and eventually the Supreme Court decided that they don't have the standing to take it to the court. So essentially, the decision that was taken here in Washington today was not about the law itself, but rather about who took it to court. So potentially someone else could follow up and try again. But for now, of course, it's a big relief for those who are already insured under Obamacare.
So does this mean it possibly isn't the final word on the law now?
That is possibly so, yes, because if the Republicans decide to take it back to court, that might be possible to bring it up again to the Supreme Court. But of course, it has to be someone else. So the states are taken out of the equation with today's verdict.
OK. Every few years, Oliver, it seems we hear about attempts to overturn Obamacare. So how significant is today's verdict?
It's a very big deal, Jared. I mean, it's been, as you mentioned, it's been at the Supreme Court several times, the third time, in fact, today. So there was a ruling in 2012, another one in 2015, and now every time with a different legal reasoning, of course, but it has also been one of the most prestigious projects of the Obama administration. And then Trump, in his term, really tried everything he could to get rid of it. The Republicans have always argued it's too expensive, that it should be an individual decision whether or not you want to have health insurance. The Democrat, in contrast, trying to help low-income families here, also those who have pre-existing conditions, and eventually this law brought health insurance to 31 million Americans.
Oliver, what reactions have there been today in Washington? I guess not only from politicians, but I guess, as you say, from the millions of people who now know that they can keep their healthcare coverage.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, President Biden, who also had his hands on this law when it was crafted back in 2010 as the vice president under Barack Obama, he welcomed this ruling. He wants to extend Obamacare further. And then, of course, as you just mentioned, it's a big relief for those 31 million Americans, some of them with pre-existing conditions. And you have to look at the U.S. health insurance system to understand a little bit why this is such a big deal, because they're very often pegged to your job. So if you lose your job, if you have pre-existing conditions, then you might end up with no insurance at all and might not be able to pay your medications, which are very expensive here. So those are, of course, more than happy with this verdict today.
And that was our correspondent Oliver Salet in Washington. Oliver, thank you.